My name is Rose Mattingly. I'm 35, and if you asked my family, they'd probably describe me as the dependable one. What they actually mean is the one who shows up early, brings extra napkins, and covers the costs no one talks about. I'm an operations lead at a mid-sized tech firm, the kind of person who color codes everything: grocery lists, tax folders, even my son's bedtime routine. My boyfriend Ethan teases me about it, but he knows why I do it. Order keeps me steady in a world where my family thrives on chaos. This year, Christmas was supposed to be simple: drive across town, smile through dinner, keep things civil. My mom loves tradition. The same plastic nativity from the 90s, the same one-eyed snowman, and the same scratched-up CD labeled XMAS Mix 2008. And of course, the same hierarchy: my younger sister Natalie, her son Mason, and the rest of us orbiting around them. We pulled up just as dusk fell. Through the frosted window, I could already hear laughter, Natalie's loud, showy kind. Ethan carried the casserole. I balanced the gifts. Liam, my 7-year-old, held a drawing he'd made for his grandparents: stick figures under a crooked Christmas tree with the words, "Family Forever." Inside, Mom was darting between the kitchen and the table, her apron splattered with cranberry sauce. "Shoes off, please. Floors just got done," she called out, not even glancing up. Dad nodded from near the oven. "Hey, champ," he said automatically, the nickname he'd never adjusted from when I was his tomboy kid. Liam tugged at my sleeve. "Where do I sit, Mom?" "Next to me, sweetheart." Mom clapped her hands. "Everyone to the table." The table shimmered under yellow light. Red runner, silver forks, and 8 plates laid out perfectly. Mason, 9 years old and already performing confidence like an art form, was stuffing bread into his mouth while Natalie laughed like an approving audience. Liam climbed into his chair and blinked at his placemat. No plate, no fork, just a bare square of table, faintly sticky from a melted candy cane stain that refused to fade. I kept my voice light, careful. "Mom, we need a place setting for Liam." She didn't look up. "There wasn't enough, sweetheart. He upset Mason, remember?" Ethan's hand brushed mine under the table, his silent way of saying not yet. "What do you mean?" I asked, steady. Natalie shrugged. "He knocked over Mason's block tower. He got a timeout, remember?" "He said sorry," I replied quietly. Mom waved a hand like she was shooing a fly. "We don't reward bad behavior, Rose." Mason reached for seconds. Mom served him with a laugh. "Growing boy." Liam's small hands folded in his lap, his eyes darting from the empty spot to Mason's overflowing plate. And something inside me, something that had been quiet for decades, snapped into focus. For years, I'd been the fixer, the buffer, the one who smoothed over every crack so the family photo could still look whole. But watching my son sit at a table where there was no space made for him, that was different. I stood up, and "We're going." Mom froze mid-laugh. "Rose, don't be ridiculous," Natalie smirked. "It's Christmas. Come on." I didn't reply. Ethan stood too, calm and wordless, his hand on Liam's shoulder. We gathered the gifts, still wrapped, and the drawing Liam had folded with hope. No one moved. Dad just stared, silent and switched off, like a TV stuck on pause. Outside, the air was sharp, the kind of cold that makes your eyes sting. Liam climbed into his booster seat without a word. Ethan started the car. Through the window, the house glowed warm and golden, laughter leaking out like nothing had happened. "Did I do something wrong?" Liam whispered. I swallowed hard. "No, baby. You did everything right." Back home, the world was small and gentle again. Chicken nuggets and carrot sticks on the couch. Liam wrapped in his blanket that smelled like laundry soap. His movie played too loud. He laughed at a cartoon dog. He didn't ask about the table. When he finally curled up with his stuffed fox, I checked my phone. 9 missed calls from Mom, 4 from Dad, 2 from Natalie, and a new family chat name. "We need to talk about Rose." I didn't open it. At 9:47 p.m., my screen lit up again. "Dad, rent's due tomorrow." Just that. Not please, not "we're tight." Just an order, like my paycheck still belonged to them. Ethan looked over. "What now?" I turned the phone so he could see. He sighed. Of course. I stared at the text, at the sheer, thoughtless entitlement of it, and felt something inside me solidify. The silence stretched. And then, in a voice barely above a whisper, I said the thing I'd never dared to say aloud. "We're not making a scene. We're making a change." That night, I didn't reply. For the first time in my life, I didn't rush to fix anything. The house was quiet except for the soft hum of the heater and Liam's steady breathing from his room. Outside, snow drifted past the window, small, silent, and free. The next morning, sunlight spilled through our apartment blinds like nothing had happened, but the phone on the counter buzzed like it disagreed. 9 unread messages, 7 missed calls, 1 group chat that wouldn't die. Ethan poured coffee and slid mine across the table. "You're not going to look at it?" I shook my head. "Not yet." He smiled faintly. "You will." He was right. When Liam woke up, his hair sticking up like a dandelion puff, he asked, "Is it still Christmas?" "Kind of," I said, smiling. "The calm version." He grinned. "Can we have pancakes?" "Chocolate chip?" "Obviously." We cooked together, flipping pancakes, while his favorite cartoon played softly in the background. It was ordinary, peaceful, and that's exactly what made my chest ache. Because peace wasn't something I'd ever been allowed to have, not without paying for it. After breakfast, I opened my phone. The family chat was on fire. "Mom, we're all disappointed in how you behaved last night." "Natalie, you embarrassed everyone over a plate. Seriously?" "Dad, rent's still due." I scrolled. Photos from Christmas. Mason holding gifts. Mom's roast. No sign of us, of course. Then one message from Mom that stopped me cold. "You made Mason cry. Are you happy?" My thumb hovered, trembling. Ethan looked up from the sink. "Say it," he said quietly. "Say the thing you never say." So I did. I opened my photo gallery. There it was, the table from last night. 8 plates and 1 bare square. I attached it. Then I found a 10-second clip, Mason being served seconds while Liam sat with his hands folded in silence. I attached that, too. And then I typed, "Last night there was no plate for my son. You said there wasn't enough because he upset Mason. Mason got seconds. We left." Send. 3 dots appeared, then exploded into messages. "Mom, you're taking things out of context." "Natalie, grow up, Rose. You always make drama." "Dad, we'll talk later. Rent first." Rent. Again. Always rent. I took a deep breath and typed another message, this time slower, colder. "I've covered rent 12 times in the last year. Dad's car repair, Mom's dental emergency, the temporary loan for Natalie's bills. I never complained. But last night crossed a line. I'm not paying your rent anymore." Silence, then all at once. "Mom, how dare you tally our kindness?" "Natalie, you sound ungrateful." "Dad, pay rent first, argue later." Ethan leaned on the counter, his tone low and steady. "You're doing good. Keep going." I wasn't sure if I was brave or just exhausted, but I typed again. "I'm not arguing. I'm setting boundaries." Mom's next message was predictable. "Your father's blood pressure is up. He's stressed. This isn't good for his heart." There it was. The family grenade, guilt wrapped in sympathy. The same one they'd thrown since I was 12. I stared at the screen, my pulse thudding. Then I looked at Liam, sprawled on the carpet, coloring a fox with a red crayon, humming softly to himself. And for the first time, I didn't fold. "Then stop making him choose between his health and your pride," I replied. "Because I'm done being your emergency fund." Mom replied instantly. "What does that mean?" I smiled. Small, tired, sure. "It means no." Ethan came over, resting his hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" "I think so," I said. But the truth was more complicated. Every part of me that had been raised to keep peace was screaming. But beneath it was something else. Steadier, cleaner. Relief. I stared at my reflection in the black screen of my phone. For once, I didn't look like the fixer or the buffer or the reliable daughter. I looked like someone who'd finally stopped apologizing. At noon, my phone buzzed again. This time, a private message from Natalie. "You think you're better than us because you adopted. Because you have your little, perfect life." My chest tightened. It wasn't the insult that stung. It was the way she said adopted, like it was some discount version of motherhood. I typed, "Never talk about Liam like that again." She replied with a single emoji, the clown face. Ethan saw it and reached for my phone. "Block her," he said. I hesitated. He met my eyes. "Rose, if she were a stranger, you'd never let her talk to you like that." So I blocked her. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was clean. That night, I sat at the kitchen table while Ethan washed dishes. The apartment smelled like vanilla from the candle I'd lit. Liam was asleep, a small shape under his fox blanket. Ethan dried his hands and sat across from me. "So," he said, What happens next? I don't know, I admitted, but it won't look like before. He smiled. Good. We sat there, the quiet stretching between us. Not heavy, but peaceful. And for the first time, I realized something simple. Silence isn't the absence of noise. It's the sound of not explaining yourself anymore. The knock came 2 mornings later. 3 slow taps, the kind my dad used when he didn't want Mom to know he was nervous. Ethan looked up from his laptop. You expecting someone? No, I said, drying my hands on a dish towel. Definitely not. I walked to the door and peered through the peephole. Dad, wearing his good coat, the charcoal one he only took out for weddings and bank appointments. His breath fogged in the cold air. Ethan came up behind me. You want me to stay? Yes, I said, without hesitation. I opened the door, not wide, just enough. The chain stayed on. Hi, Dad said, giving me a polite, almost shy smile. Can we talk, Rosie? He hadn't called me that in years. It used to sound sweet. Now it sounded like a negotiation tactic. Sure, I said flatly. Through the chain's fine. He sighed. Let's be adults about this. Help your old man out. 1 more month of rent. Then we're square. I blinked at him, incredulous. You came all the way here to ask for rent? His face twitched. Shame, or maybe frustration. Your mother's upset. You know how she gets. Oh, I know exactly how she gets, I said quietly. His eyes darted past me, scanning the apartment. He saw the small Christmas tree we'd decorated with Liam's handmade paper stars, the whiteboard on the fridge that read, "No one makes Liam small. No one makes Mom small." He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm learning what normal looks like. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. Outside, wind brushed against the window like a whisper. Then Dad said, softer, Your mother didn't mean to hurt the boy. She meant it enough to say it out loud, I replied. He rubbed his face, looking older than I'd ever seen him. You've always been sensitive, Rosie. She has her ways. I almost laughed. Her ways. Like they were weather patterns. Unavoidable, natural, not her responsibility. She didn't set a plate for him, Dad, I said, voice trembling, for her grandson. And you just sat there. He flinched, then straightened. You're making this into something it's not. No, I said sharply. That's what I've been doing my whole life, making it smaller so it doesn't hurt as much. Ethan stepped forward then, his tone calm but edged. Mr. Mattingly, this isn't about rent. It's about respect. Dad's jaw tightened. I'm not talking to you. Ethan didn't move. You are now. The tension crackled like static. For a moment I thought Dad might yell, but instead his shoulders sagged. You've changed, Rosie. I had to, I said simply. It was either that or keep apologizing for existing. He looked away. His eyes landed on a framed photo by the shoe rack, Liam holding his stuffed fox, grinning with missing teeth. Something in his face softened. He looks happy, he murmured. He is, I said, because no one here makes him feel small. Dad reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. Then at least take your Christmas card. I hesitated, then accepted it through the gap in the door. The paper was thick, the kind my mom used for expensive stationery. He lingered. I know she's difficult, he said quietly. But she loves you. Love isn't the problem, I said. It's what she does with it. His lips parted like he wanted to argue, but the words never came. Instead, he nodded, almost to himself. I'll tell her you're standing your ground. You do that, I said softly. When I closed the door, the click of the latch sounded louder than I expected. I leaned against it, breathing out a heaviness I didn't know I'd been holding. Ethan put his hand on my back. You okay? I think so, I whispered. But it's weird. I always thought standing up to them would feel like a fight. It just feels quiet. He smiled gently. Quiet's a good sound. I slid a finger under the envelope flap. Inside was a folded card with glitter snowflakes. Mom's handwriting looping across the front. Merry Christmas, our Rosie. Inside, a short note. We love you, even when you make things harder than they need to be. You'll understand when you're a mother for real one day. I stared at it. For real. As if Liam didn't count. As if motherhood needed biology to be valid. I tore the card in half, not out of rage, but out of clarity. That night, Liam fell asleep early after building a blanket fort with Ethan. I sat at the kitchen table with my journal, something I hadn't opened in years. The words came out shaky, but certain. No more conditional love, no more quiet endurance. I am not the family's safety net. I am the mother who breaks the pattern. I closed the notebook, slid it into the drawer, and whispered into the stillness. We're done paying for their peace. Outside, snow fell steady and soundless, like a promise being kept. The next few days were an echo chamber. Missed calls, voicemails, messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Mom's friends, cousins, even Aunt June, who hadn't texted me since her bunion surgery. All with the same tone: disbelief, judgment, concern, coded in condescension. Rose, your poor parents. Maybe just say sorry and smooth it over. You know how your mother is. As if that excused everything. Ethan started screening my calls for me. Unknown number again, he'd say, flipping the phone face down. Voicemail roulette can wait till after breakfast. By the third morning, even he couldn't help laughing. When Mom left a message that began with "sweetheart" and ended with "you've humiliated this family," Liam wandered in, mid-toast, wearing his dinosaur pajamas. "Mommy, is Nana mad?" I froze, the butter knife halfway across the bread. "She's upset," I said carefully, "but that's not your fault." He nodded, unbothered, and asked, "Can we go sledding again?" I smiled. "Yeah, let's do that." The hill behind the library was covered in powdery snow that glittered under the pale sun. Liam ran ahead, dragging his plastic sled like it was a chariot. Ethan trailed behind, coffee in one hand, pretending not to race him. When Liam finally tumbled down the slope, his laughter burst through the cold air, wild, free, the kind of sound I hadn't realized I missed. He rolled over, cheeks pink, eyes bright. "Again," I laughed, breathless. Of course again. For the first time in years, Christmas didn't feel like survival. It felt like breathing. That night, I made hot cocoa with extra marshmallows while Ethan lit the tiny tree again. Liam arranged his toy fox beside a cup of cocoa, too. "He likes extra marshmallows, too," Liam explained solemnly. "Then he'll fit right in," Ethan said. I smiled. Small, quiet, full. Later, when Liam was asleep, I finally listened to Dad's latest voicemail. "Your mother's worried. You know how she gets. Just talk to her. Please, you can't stay angry forever." I deleted it, not out of spite, out of necessity. Anger wasn't the problem. Anger was the alarm that told me something needed to change. By Sunday, I'd made something like peace. The apartment smelled like coffee and laundry detergent. Ethan and I had set up a new whiteboard above the kitchen table. At the top, in blue marker, I wrote, "House rules. No one makes Liam small. No one makes Mom small. No one makes Dad small." Liam added a box around his name and drew stars around it. "So we remember," he said. "We will," I promised. It was the simplest rule I'd ever made, and the hardest one to live by. 2 nights later, Dad texted again. This time, it wasn't a demand. It was a photo, his scribbled handwriting on a notepad, columns labeled bills and budget. Underneath, he'd written, "Working on it, half joke, half promise." It made me pause. Ethan leaned over my shoulder. "He's trying," he said softly. "Maybe," I said, "but trying doesn't fix the past." I replied anyway. "There's a counselor at the community center. Tell Mom it's free." 10 minutes later, he responded, "She won't go." "Then you go," I texted back. No reply, but I knew he'd seen it. It was something. The next day, Mom's Facebook post appeared in my feed. A photo of Mason and Natalie at brunch. The caption, "Family means forgiving, even when others don't deserve it." The comments rolled in. Hearts, prayer hands, a few amens. It was the digital version of slamming a door. Ethan saw it and muttered, "Classy." I just nodded. Expected. Then I hit unfollow, quietly, permanently. That night, I sat in bed reading while Ethan brushed his teeth. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, Rose, it's Dad." "She's calmer now. Maybe come by next Sunday? Just you. No ambushes. Promise." I stared at the screen for a long time. Ethan came out, towel over his shoulder. "You thinking about it?" "Yeah," I admitted. "Will you go?" "Only if she apologizes to Liam." He smiled, proud and tired. "That's my line drawing girl." I laughed softly. Boundaries are contagious, apparently. A week later, I got another text. "Sunday, 3 p.m. Just us. She'll say sorry." I didn't believe it, not fully, but something in me, maybe hope, maybe curiosity, whispered, "See for yourself." Ethan squeezed my hand as I got ready. "You don't owe them peace, Rose," he said. "Just honesty." "I know," I said quietly. But maybe this time, honesty is peace. When I pulled into my parents' driveway that Sunday, snow had melted into slush. The familiar house looked smaller. Through the window, I saw Mom standing by the table. No decorations, no music, no crowd, just her and Dad. For the first time in years, the table had exactly 3 plates. When I stepped inside, the air smelled faintly of cinnamon and something else. Hesitation. Mom stood by the table, arms crossed, like she wasn't sure whether to hug me or defend herself. Dad gave me a soft, cautious smile. 3 plates, 3 mugs of tea. No roast, no candles, no audience. "Hi, Mom," I said. She nodded. "Hi, Rose." Her voice was smaller than I remembered, or maybe mine had just stopped shrinking to match it. For a long moment, none of us spoke. Then she exhaled, a little shaky. "I want to apologize." I waited. She looked at me, then down at the tablecloth. "For Christmas. For not setting a place for Liam." The words came out awkward, like she'd practiced them but couldn't quite believe them yet. "It was wrong," she added quickly, glancing up. "He's a good boy. I was trying to teach him manners, but I see now that—" I stopped her gently. "Mom, it wasn't about manners." She blinked. "It was about respect," I said. "You made him feel like he didn't belong." Her mouth opened, then closed again. The silence stretched thin. Finally, she whispered, "I didn't mean it like that." "I know," I said, "but he felt it like that." Dad cleared his throat. "We've been talking. About money. About everything." "That's good," I said. He nodded toward Mom. She started writing things down. Budgets. Lists. Mom shot him a warning look, but there was no bite behind it. "I'm trying," she said quietly. "It's hard." "I never asked you to be perfect," I replied. "Just honest." We sat. The tea was oversteeped, the kind that leaves a bitter aftertaste. But it was real. Mom finally said, "Your father's worried you won't come around anymore." "I won't," I said, "if things go back to how they were." Her face tightened, then softened again. "And if they don't? Then maybe we can start over." The words surprised even me. For a second, I saw the smallest flicker of something on her face, relief, or maybe surrender. After tea, I stood to leave. Mom hesitated, then reached into the cupboard. She pulled out a dusty box and handed it to me. "Liam's old art projects," she said softly. "I kept them." I opened the lid. Inside were crayon drawings, macaroni hearts, a stick figure family with Nana plus Liam scribbled in block letters. It hit me in the chest. "Thank you," I whispered. When I got home, Liam ran to the door and threw his arms around me. "Did Nana say sorry?" "She did," I said. "And she meant it, mostly." He grinned. "Can we make cocoa?" "Always." We stood side by side at the counter, stirring cocoa in circles. The kitchen smelled sweet and safe. Liam set out 3 mugs, one for me, one for Ethan, and one tiny cup beside his stuffed fox. "This one's for Mr. Fox," he said proudly. "He gets a plate now, too." Ethan smiled, resting a hand on my back. He's learning from the best. Later, after Liam went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table writing an email, short, calm, and final. Subject: boundaries. "Mom, Dad, thank you for today. I'm glad we talked, and I appreciate the apology. But I need to be clear, I will not pay your rent. I will not attend any gathering where Liam is excluded or compared. I will not discuss money without bills or receipts. Please don't contact Ethan about financial matters. If you respect these boundaries, we can rebuild something real. If not, this piece will stay one-sided. And that's okay too. Love, Rose." I read it twice before hitting send. My hands didn't shake this time. The next morning, I woke up to a short reply from Dad. "Understood. Proud of you." It was only 3 words, but they landed like sunlight through a crack in heavy curtains. Weeks passed quietly. No emergency calls. No guilt texts. Just normal days. Work, errands, bedtime stories. Mom eventually sent a message with a photo of her handwritten budget. "This is stupid, but okay." It made me laugh out loud. Progress doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it looks like resistance learning to breathe. One evening, while cleaning up dinner, Ethan wrapped his arms around me. "You've been lighter lately," he said softly. "Maybe because I stopped carrying what wasn't mine," I said. He smiled. "You know, boundaries look good on you," I laughed. "They feel even better." We stood there, quiet, the hum of the fridge filling the room. Outside, snow began to fall again. Soft, steady, familiar. Liam called from the living room. "Mom, Mr. Fox wants seconds." I smiled. "He'll get them." As I set the tiny plate beside Liam's toy fox, a strange, tender thought crossed my mind. Boundaries sound cruel to people who preferred me quiet. But they're not cruelty. They're translation. Instructions for how to love me without breaking me. And for the first time in my life, I knew this piece wasn't borrowed. It was mine.